Welcome to the Iron Bank.
Melisandre is quite the Lady Macbeth. She's so stunning, but she's so methodical and she's so sexy, and I feel like you played that role so well. But what do you love most about her?
The fact that you cannot really pinpoint anything. It's hard to read her, and I think that's nice for people to be confused. And it's never really clear whether she's doing it for the greater good, whether she's doing it for her own sake, whether she's doing it because she's just sexual aroused or evil, just plain evil. And I like the fact that it's quite vague sometimes.
So do I. It makes it really interesting for me to play out when she suggests something or we're going to do something. I love, as an actor, trying to work out why, what's her motivation, all those things you mentioned. I like the confusing aspect of...
We have a lot of scenes where we have just looks to each other. And it's always interesting.
They're not always in the script, and when we're rehearsing we can kind of shift a look at each other and if it works in the right place, and we make suggestions to the director and stuff, and then would this be useful here, and directors will say, look, we're going to cut over to you here on this, you need to be on her, what's she at? And that's one of the reasons I think the relationship and the show works so well, is that it's not always what's just written down is what we're playing. There's a lot of time what's being said is not what's being meant. And I think that's great for an audience as well. I think that's what they really respect about the show, is that it's not condescending and patronising.
The Walden Army is only an army because of Mance. Without Mance, they lose their leader.
You're going to kill him?
I love Sam so much. I feel like he is the heart, he's this moral compass in the show. And I'm just wondering how you feel you relate to him.
I think Sam has got one of the very purest hearts and the purest souls on the whole show. And I think if Sam provides one thing in the whole panoply of the drama of Game of Thrones, it's an examination of what it's like to be in love. When he met Gilly, he was at such a low ebb in his life that he didn't really have a point to his existence anymore. He didn't really have a reason to live. He'd been ripped away from his family and he was placed in a situation with people who despised him. And, you know, there's only so much pain a human heart can withstand, and yet he found this woman and he found her baby, and he accepted a responsibility that gave him a reason to survive. And I think that love can do that for people. Just when you think that nobody needs you and nobody wants you, all you need is one person to really need you and to really not be able to survive without you. And your life just gains some kind of meaning, and I think that's what's happened.
They held the gate.
So many people watch the show. I feel like the whole world watches the show. They have an HBO subscription because of the show, so they've kept up with it. Why do you think it's important that people also watch the show again and again on Blu-ray?
It shifts. That's the thing I love about it. I mean, Tyrion's journey is incredibly interesting. Daenerys, as a girl who's turning into a woman, and all the complexities she has with all these people she's freed. It doesn't end with the freedom. What are you going to do with your freedom?
Cersei.
Cersei's. That's going to get really interesting. What's going up for her? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, we even said, well, what the hell do you think is going to happen with us? Well, like, it's
this lovely couple going.
Yeah. I can't. 2.2 children and matching polo neck sweaters, perhaps. I think not.
Sam has come so far, but I feel like there's still so much yet to come for him. So what can you tell us about what is next for Sam?
So much does happen to Sam this year, actually. It'd be very cruel to put him through the kind of emotional turmoil that he was in season 4. I think season 4 was the emotional roller coaster that people only can withstand once in a lifetime. But what you see in Sam in season 5 is a whole new role for himself. We've seen how he can influence people. We've seen how he can influence Jon Snow. We've seen him do that so many times. Jon Snow gets an idea into his head and it's Sam who talks him round. But in season 5, what you get is Sam flexing those logic and rhetoric muscles a little bit more, and maybe influencing people en masse, and maybe on the surface of it, doing it for one reason, but deep down, Gilly's never far from his thoughts, and maybe she's always at the back of his mind, and maybe she's the real reason he does some of the things he does.